Hello and welcome back to Muddy Paws Crime Live, which we are doing for Pet Theft Awareness Week, running from the 14th to the 21st of March. I'm Lisa, as you all know, and today we have with us Elaine Hardy, who is the owner of the stolen dog Rosie. So thank you, Elaine, for being with us. I know it's a difficult time and difficult thing for you to do, but it's important for us to get Rosie out there as much as possible.
Okay.
So for everybody or anyone rather that doesn't know about Rosie, can you let us know what breed Rosie is, how old she was when she was stolen?
Yeah, so she was a fox red Labrador, and she was just 18 months old when she actually went missing. Something I didn't actually put out her age at the time, but obviously now with the time that's gone by, it's obviously a vital part of when people are giving information that the age of the dog is out there really.
And what date did this happen? Where did it happen? And do you know the circumstances?
So it was the 8th of December. I'd actually put my Christmas tree up early that year as well, and so we had at least had some Christmas pictures done with her. And it was about 8:30 at night, and I just let her out. We've got quite a big garden at the back, and I just let her out for a toilet. I went upstairs, went to the toilet myself, so it was literally 5 minutes. I came back down and went out, shouted her, and she normally comes bounding back in, and there was just no sign whatsoever. So I kept on shouting, and then I started panicking because I thought, where is she? Why is she not coming back? And I shouted to my husband, that Rosie's gone. So he came running downstairs, and we have a field at the back, and we have a gate out there, and he went out that way, and I went out in the car to see if she's never got out before. We've lived here 25 years. We've had dogs before all our lives. We did have one lab that used to jump the 6-foot fence at the front, but only in thunder. And just no sign in the streets, no sign anywhere. We phoned friends. We put it on the next door neighbour thing. We had family come round and everybody to try and help look.
And just remind people what year Rosie was stolen.
Sorry, yeah, it was 20. The year seems to have gone. It was 2020.
And is Rosie microchipped?
Yes, she is.
And are you keeping an eye, I guess, on the database to make sure your details are correct?
Yeah. I regularly check it just to make sure that it's still there and it's still up to date with all my details, because that's such an important thing.
Yes, it does. And I know I keep repeating this on live, but there have been glitches. We do recommend anyone with missing and stolen dogs, please check probably weekly. Anyone who has not got a lost or stolen dog, check fortnightly, monthly. There's been too many glitches, so we do recommend that. Has she been scanned, to your knowledge, anywhere since she's been missing? No. Okay. And was there any sign of like any forced entry, like through the gate, or did you feel like you were being watched at all?
No, I didn't feel we were being watched. I suppose it's quite a private garden, but then in the winter when all the foliage kind of comes down, then it's a bit more open so people can see in, and a lot of people do go out on that field walking dogs and things like that. So but it's quite a big garden, so it's quite it's about, I don't know, 40 foot from the house, so I can't really see much of the field from the house, so it was hard to say that there was anybody around.
And did you contact the police at the time?
I did, yes.
Find them helpful?
It couldn't be done personally. You had to do it online. So it was a case of just filing a report, and it all was done electronically. But they did take it. They did report it as a crime, and they did give me a crime number literally straight away. The process went through, and within 24 hours it had a crime reference number.
And did you contact any lost dog groups, vets, dog warden?
Yeah, a friend of mine knows the local dog warden, and they were great. The dog loss people got in contact, and they were great, because if you've never lost a dog, you actually have not got a clue where to start.
Exactly.
And then when you do, and you realise how big a problem it is, it's quite well. It's just awful how big a problem it is. And I think for how many people own pets and dogs in this country, if they knew how big a problem it was, and I still see people, tie the dogs up outside shops, and I just cringe every time I see somebody do it, because they just don't know,
Yeah, we're trying to get awareness out there, that pet theft is so rife, and there are a lot of people that aren't aware. A lot are, of course, some are scared to walk their dogs. That's how bad it is.
Yeah.
But there are, I myself see some, and I won't move from where I see
No, I
it.
do. I stay there. I do exactly the same. I stay outside until I see the owner come back.
Yeah.
For the dog wardens, I went up to the local dog Manchester, the Manchester dog home. And as I was driving in, there was a dog warden coming out, and I just stopped him and I said, "Have you just taken a dog in?" This was just a couple of days after she'd gone missing. And a fox red lab, he said, "Is it Rosie?" And he already knew. When I was out looking for her, I had an accident and I hurt myself, and I ended up in hospital. And even the nurses knew. Some of the nurses knew already within quite a short space of time, and they'd heard about her. So the word did get out quite quickly, which was good.
That's good. And did you have any CCTV, Elaine, or like in the area just nearby? Or
no, because it's all open at the back, but my street does. There's a few of my neighbours do. And then I went the day after, I went round all the streets where was close to where she could have been. One lady did have CCTV, but nobody had anything that came forward with anything. I leafleted the whole area. I posted everywhere. In the early days, we kept getting sort of potential sightings, but never a proper sighting or a proper photograph or anything. So all the local parks were all posted for quite some distance, really.
One question that's come up in the comments that hasn't actually ever come up on these lives before. Has anyone checked to see if vets around have had new staff that have left after a short while? Obviously, before the theft or after. Sometimes it could be insiders. It's a possibility, I guess. But obviously, it's hard. You can't also look like you're accusing as well. That the problem is there's so many possibilities, isn't there?
Yeah. I mean, it's a shame, because I do think, obviously, with the Ferns law, that the vets can do so much more. I know they keep saying they don't want to get involved, but my vets do, and it takes no. You should scan every dog that comes in to see you, and you should just check that they are registered to that person. But
Yeah, definitely.
because when I do see people who get their dogs back, a lot of the times when it's been a while, it is the vets that have scanned them, that have found them. So that goes to show that it does work.
And but once, obviously, when Rosie was stolen, what impact has it had on yourself and your family, Elaine?
It's almost like losing somebody in the grief, but you actually haven't got the end result, so you can't move on. So every single day is just, and you think with time it'll get easier, but when you don't know where they are, it doesn't get easier. The Facebook group, I've never been on Facebook as much as I am now, and it's been amazing, but because I'm on so many groups, it's also very traumatic, because you have your hopes raised, and then you see horror stories, And then so you go through so many different emotions, and even now, and now it's still like, because of the time, it's like I still can't believe it's actually happened, and how have I got to 14 months since I've seen her.
Yeah, I mean,
uh,
you touched on like the grief part. We had Wendy Andrew on, who's a pet bereavement counsellor, and a lot of people think you go to a pet bereavement counsellor just when your dog's passed away, but the not knowing is that it's bad enough when your dog passes away, but you know what's happened. But the grieving process, there's no closure for you.
no,
Your mind's in turmoil all the time. We really feel for you. It's just awful.
it just
Um,
comes in waves, and it hits you.
mm,
Just one little thing can trigger and a memory just in the morning, or things that you do every day that she'd be there. Or and I always took her to work with me. She came to work with me every day, so um it's just left a gaping hole. And I do have an older dog, and I'm just frightened that she's not, well, she won't be around for much longer, and I'll end up with no dog, and then that'll hit, so I'll go through it all again. Because then, there's, because she was, so Rosie was kind of Ruby's companion, and her um and she's what made Ruby stay a bit more lively for a bit longer,
mm,
so
so
that's
it's really
more to go
thoughtful.
through.
Yeah. So with obviously Dog Lost have been very helpful to you, and you've had a lot of support. With the posters, did they have your phone number on them, and did
Yeah.
you get any hoax calls?
Oh yeah, yeah. I've put my phone number on from day one, because you kind of want to get the call yourself. Um, so in the early days, there was the hoax call, and there was the standard one. I think that a lot of people got, the guy with a very sort of northwest accent, right, mate. And I think a lot of people had the same one, because I know somebody played it on one of their groups.
Yeah.
Um, but he wanted £300, and I thought, well, you haven't got her, because I was offering a £3,000 reward, so it's definitely not you. Um, I think the worst one that we had though was sort of late last year, and a guy rang me and he said, "I've got your dog," and I said, "Right, okay." He said, "She's injured, and needs to see a vet, but I'm in Cumbria and I'm a police officer," and he gave me a police officer's name, and it sounded really legit. So
Mm.
I was excited, because I thought somebody's got her, but I was worried because he said she was injured. So I took all the details. He told me she was up in a police station up in Cumbria. And then I came upstairs and spoke to my husband, and he said, "Well, let's just check it out first. Let's not get too excited." And we rang the police up there, and they were so helpful. But the name, he did give an actual police officer's name, but he was
Really?
off. He was off on his 4 days. And even the sergeant who lived opposite him went and knocked on his door just to make sure he hadn't rang. And they were so, so good. But it was a
That's good.
complete and utter hoax. But they'd actually impersonated a police officer.
Mm.
And literally, I had one last week, and I've not had one for months. And it was a young girl who laughing and joking. I've seen your dog, it's dead. Laughing. I just don't understand how anybody can find.
I know. There's just no words for it, Elaine. How anybody can even think to do anything like this. It's disgusting.
I know.
And, one of the reasons we're doing these lives is to show the impact that, dog theft is having, pet theft is having in general. We want the authorities to see as well, that there's so many things that need to be addressed, and they need to step up. Um, with the hoax calls, have you been reporting them all to the police?
No, because they withhold the numbers. So,
Mm.
there's not a lot you can actually do about them, really.
I would still recommend, hopefully you won't have, but just always don't feel that you're, annoying the police or that. That's what they're there for, to give the
Yeah,
public a service. Keep reporting it, keeps your case going as well,
yeah,
and showing them, what you're going through. And they need to log those calls onto your CRM.
Yeah. Well, one thing I did find out that might be of use to other people whose dogs have been stolen. I did have a lead. So just when it was the year of Rosie being missing, because I did a big post and so many, I mean, the people that shared it, I mean, there was I think nearly 20,000 shares. It was the most I'd ever had with the post that we'd done. And it was amazing. And I got a text to say, I know where your dog is. And it's the first kind of, it felt real, shall I say. And it was only close by in Salford, so within a reasonable distance from where I live. You have to keep a lot of things quiet because you're trying to it's trying to be investigated. And through a friend of a friend, I was advised to actually report it again and and get a new crime reference number. Because what happens with the old crime reference number, when something comes into a lead, it just goes into a pool to be dealt with, in a queue. Whereas when you do the new crime reference number, the police that are working that day, they take it on. So it means it gets seen quicker. So that was a piece of information that, was because they actually acted on it. And because I got an address, the people gave me an address, and there was somebody who did have a fox red Labrador, and she had bought an adult one, but she did have all her paperwork, and they were and she was scanned and she was seen and everything. So I know it wasn't her, but they did act on it. So
Okay. That's good to hear.
yeah.
Jennifer in the comments is just saying, do you know anything more about how widespread dog theft is in your particular area now that you've had your dog stolen? But touching on that further, when Rosie was stolen, was you aware of any pet theft in the area or found out about any after she was stolen?
No, but I think there's been quite a few in the area since then. There's definitely been dogs stolen in the northwest over the last 12 months. It's just, I mean, it's just every day. I think there's a post
I
of
know,
some sort.
this is the problem. I mean, there are so many dogs stolen. You know, us at Muddy Paws Crime, we want to share so much, but you know, we have to focus sort of on the dogs that we've got. I call them our Muddy Paws Crime dogs, including Rosie, of course. You know, we need to focus on a set amount of dogs, you know, to try and push them out in the media. And
Yeah.
then, you know, hopefully reunited, and then we can maybe take some more on. But with the government, what would you like them to do to address pet theft more as a stolen dog owner?
Well, I mean, obviously they've changed the legislation to make it more of a crime now, which was definitely needed because it was just ridiculous. It wasn't even, they do more about a stolen phone than they would about a dog. Um, but I think they need to give, more funds to the police because we need more help, and we need it to be taken seriously. Because you really just don't have a clue where to start or what to do,
No,
and you're
no.
relying on other people, and it makes you feel helpless. It makes you feel like, I mean, it's bad enough when you have a dog stolen because you do feel I feel guilty. I feel like I've done something wrong
You haven't. No.
because
And
I couldn't keep her safe from
you,
somebody, and then you feel guilty because you think, what is somebody doing to her instead of her being here?
I
And
know.
so they need to see the impact it has and give the police more funding. I mean, Greater Manchester Police, they have enough problems, so it just doesn't have they don't have enough funding all the time to help with things like this.
The thing is, though, I mean, this is a big crime now, and you've got,
Massive.
you know, crime gangs
Yeah.
involved, and it is affecting the nation. As I say, even if you haven't had a dog missing or stolen, people are frightened to walk their dogs. People are having to do so many different things. The nationwide issue, the government needs to step up. A lot of the police that are uncompassionate, they need to back their ideas up too. And if anyone wants to question me on that, please do, because I do help owners with the police. You know, that they've got to start taking pet theft seriously. You do have the Theft Act that has been in place since 1968 that can be applied. It does carry a sentence, but never see it applied. The thieves are let off with a fine or a slap on the wrist. It's absolutely ridiculous, Elaine. But
Yeah,
you know, we want to show the impact it's having. And if the thief is watching now or is watching this in the future, you know, please, please, please see what you're doing. You know, you're ripping a family apart.
yeah,
Also, especially for dogs that have been missing a little while now, including Rosie, some people may not have wanted to speak up back
before,
then.
yeah,
They might want to speak further down the line. So
yeah,
we encourage, if you know something, please come forward and give information to
yeah.
what happened to Rosie, where she is, and let her go home. You won't get in trouble. Not everything's got to involve police.
No,
Elaine just
definitely not. No,
um,
you know, I just want her back. I'm
yeah.
not,
So,
you know,
what would your message to the thief or anybody that has information be, Elaine?
to just, you know, get in contact with either myself or Crime Stoppers or yours, so anybody that's, and just nobody will, you won't get into any trouble. It'll all be dealt with very confidentially. I'm not, you know, I just want my dog back. I just want her back home. You know, I've lost 12 months, over 12 months of her life, and she's a young dog. And even if somebody's picked her up, um, and kept her, and they think that's not stealing, that's still stealing, because that's somebody else's dog, and you know it's not, you know it's not your dog, so that's still stealing, whether you physically took her out of the garden or whether you found her and you put her in the back of your car, or you put, you know, it's stealing, it's still stealing, it's not your property.
Yeah,
Somebody,
it is a crime. It's theft by finding.
yeah,
But as Elaine said, you know, please just give her back. Um, with the if anyone does have any information, obviously you have a Facebook group, don't you? Which I will share my screen in a minute and show.
yeah,
Um,
I'm so grateful for those people on that. They are amazing, the messages I get. You know, I mean, they've kept me going, because you do feel sometimes like it's hopeless, and it's very hard to keep, you know, upbeat and to keep positive. But without that group, I wouldn't be able to carry on, because I mean, the messages are just, I mean, a few months back when I did have a tip off and I asked for help, I mean, so many people came forward. I mean, if the police weren't going to raid this place, there was plenty of people on my group that would have done. And, you know, and sometimes you think, well, power of people, if we all have to do it together, you know, and we get the dog back. But yeah, they've been amazing.
Yeah, the people on these dog groups, you know,
They
the
are.
admins do so much work for
Yeah.
owners, you know, the hours they put in voluntarily, and
Yeah.
obviously all the people that join and the support, you know, everyone's behind you, everyone's looking for Rosie nationwide. Um, with obviously a lot of breeds do look the same,
Mm.
Elaine. Obviously an owner knows their dog, but
Yeah.
you know, if you're looking at a Fox Red Lab, how would we kind of know it's Rosie? Does she have any distinguishing marks, or like the way
Hard,
she
because
walks?
she is
Or
a complete. So some fox reds have white on them in places, but Rosie doesn't. So that's the first thing. So that's kind of distinguishing, is she doesn't have any white on her. Um, Now, when she went, her nose is very black, but they can change. Her mum's hasn't changed, but I, you don't know. Um, and her claws are brown, and again, a lot of Labradors' claws are white. So that's kind of what I look for. And I know people say, what, you know, when they're out walking, what should they do? I just think now it's been long enough. Just shout Rosie, because if it's a genuine fox red lab person and you explain why you've shouted it, they're not going to mind. You know, you're not grabbing the dog off them, but you're just making them aware. And loads of people, when people have been seen looking at their fox red, they said, oh, it's not Rosie. So, you know, it's just you just got to be a bit more forward, because it's the only way.
and you know, we do know that some people have bought stolen dogs, and you haven't realised they're stolen. Again, you know, if you've acquired one since Rosie's been stolen, take her to a vet, get her scanned if she's not been to a vet already, or if you've been to a vet and they haven't scanned, please get her scanned. You
Yeah,
won't get in trouble. Just get in touch with Elaine. and let her go home.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do, Elaine, I'm going to show people Rosie's Facebook page, and we're going to show the little video that we spoke about before.
Yeah, Dog Loss put that together. They've done so much for me without, especially without Claire. You know, she's been so supportive. So yeah, that video's amazing.
Okay, so I'm going to try and share my screen. So this is Rosie.